This is another talking video, which I have been making lots of lately, but I wanted to spread awareness, potentially all the way to Funcom, of the growing problem with this upcoming stamina rework and melee that I sort of shoved into my previous video. With the way that stamina currently works, an enemy player can simply walk or run away from you with no abilities or anything, and easily evade all of your attacks, forcing you to eventually run out of stamina just from melee attacking and using abilities, trying to kill them, but your enemy is perfectly fine on stamina as they aren't using a single ability, and even their health is hardly decreasing enough to be anything major, making it truly a stalemate and extremely immersion breaking, to say the least. If I was using any weapon other than the new dual blades as well, which are capable of dealing a small amount of damage by slow blading even without the enemy having to be staggered, then I simply wouldn't be able to deal any damage at all. I am spice presciented here, and so you can see my opponent's stamina bar and how it rarely drops below 50%, while I'm trying my best to keep up with him and damage him, and I'm frequently around or below 20%, sometimes even 0%. Not to mention, I am literally spice prescient, going superhuman mode, and I'm unable to beat this guy who's not spice prescient and literally just walking away. Frankly, it's unacceptable, and stamina needs to be further reworked to allow for this to not happen. Spicerub, the person who I'm fighting in this video, has a very good video detailing his solutions on this subject, which I will link in this video's description, and I recommend you take a look at it. I later tried out this same thing with another player called Valdred, though I forgot to record that happening, so there won't be any footage of that here. But he was actually able to keep up with me and catch me while I was walking away and dash. And the means that he did this was dashing at the same time I did while I was afflicted with crippling strike. However, any time he failed to dash at about the same time I did, I am still able to easily walk away from him, such as Spicerub is doing in this clip. In PvP, I normally run abilities like Knee Charge, Weirding Step, and Crippling Strike, or I'll run Retaliate, Weirding Step, and Crippling Strike if I'm up against another melee player. But the ability Prana Bindu Strikes could also be useful in this particular situation, as its primary use is that while it's being used, the player using it recovers stamina, and the opponent doesn't recover any stamina, as you can see in this video. But even with this ability, I was helpless to get my opponent's stamina to drop below 50%, even while spice presciented. I am by no means an amateur at melee combat in this game, and you can see my previous video or any other Dune video on this channel for proof of that. Following the dreaded Crippling Strike nerf a few months ago as well, melee was completely non-viable in this game's PvP, and I was hoping for this stamina rework to change that some. And to be fair, it's improved the situation. However, it is still ridiculously easy to evade a melee attacker even after these stamina changes, as this video proves. For clarification, again, I am spice prescient. I am using every ability at my disposal, and my enemy, I didn't mention this earlier, but he's level 1 in all of his stats, including stamina, running nearly the lowest possible amount of base stamina you can have in the game. He's using no abilities, simply walking or running away from me strategically, and he's able to live, and I can't do anything, and I end up being stammed out. In the words of the user Wicked on the game's official Discord, melee becomes obnoxiously bad as soon as the opponent is allowed to use every resource available to them, as in none of the huge handicaps in this video that I just described. In Wicked's opinion, currently the only way to balance melee and range together in the game's current design would be to make ranged weapons much worse at actually killing people, as melee is very slow and has long animations, which is why the Rapier Halix pick was the dominant melee weapon for the longest time, due to its fast attack speed. The reason Crippling Strike was initially nerfed, as stated, was per Joel's vision of the enemy player having the option to disengage the fight at any time, but that honestly just doesn't make sense, especially in the heat of a close quarters exchange. Melee requires an enemy to be within melee range for an extended period of time to be able to do anything, yet the game itself continually wants itself to be designed so that any player can leave melee range whenever they choose to. Anyway, to end this video, I'll again recommend Spicerubs' video for solutions on this topic, particularly his stamina cost chart dealing with his proposed changes to the stamina costs of dashes from ability staggers, melee staggers, and other staggers, as skewing the cost in favor of melee is honestly one of the best ways to make it viable. Alongside that, the dash range of players under the effect of Crippling Strike should be at least half of what it is in the public test client, if not less than that, to prevent players from being able to get away so easily. I thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I primarily use melee weapons in pretty much every single game that lets me, and with Dune's intricate parrying, blocking, and Holtzman's shield slow blade system, I would very much love to see melee be a big part of this game's combat. The problems described in this video are only a fraction of the problems with melee as a whole. If you're watching this Funcom, I love you guys, and I hope you've heard me out in this video.